Kino pavasaris. Kovo 18, balandžio 5 dienomis visoje Lietuvoje. Didysis partneris Ergo draudimo grupė. Informaciniai partneriai TV3, 15 min žmonės.
Mūsų karta pirmoji supratusi, kaip iš lėto kenkiame gamtai. Ir vienintelė, žinanti, kad dar yra laiko ją išsaugoti. Apsaugokime mūsų visų ateitį. Ergo.
Geriausius kino pavasario filmus parodys žiūrimiausia televizija TV3. Šeštadieniais 22:40.
Festivalis Kino pavasaris jūsų namuose. Visus filmus žiūrėkite Telia televizijoje jums patogiu metu. Telia. Įdomiau tik gyvenimas.
Įtraukia nuo pat pirmųjų sekundžių. Vienu prisėdimu abi serijos susivalgė. Kaip lietuviškas tikrai neblogas.
Could you give me a drink, please?
Shirley Clark, Portrait of Jason, roll 1, sound 1.
Okay, Jason, go. My name is Jason Holiday. My name is Jason Holiday. My name is Aaron Payne. I know he's around when the sky and the ground start in ringing. Everyone in New York has a gimmick. So I found out that mine was hustling. I hear in advance. Some people like museums and they spend all day looking at pictures. I spend all day looking at people. It's the same form of art. And I can make you feel that you're the most desirable human being that ever walked this earth. It's the only music that makes me dance. I'm a pretty frightening cat, you know. People that know me will tell you that. But, like, I don't mean any harm, but the harm is done. I think it's about time now I picked up my gay buns and swished out of here.
Labas vakaras visiems. Hello everyone. This is the last episode of Kino Pavasaris late night talks next to the cinema hall. And for this last episode, we decided that we would really love to gather all together the 4 programmers of Vilnius Film Festival. And I'm super happy to see you guys here. It's nice to reconnect on the last days of the festival. And we're going to talk about, we're going to start to talk about Jason, the portrait of Jason, which I believe it was a nice discovery for all of us. But I'm just going to, like, for the beginning, share that I'm feeling like really, really grateful for this turn of Kino Pavasari's programmation to make this curated retrospective program, which actually for me it was probably the best time of programmation process, because I've been watching so many films, rewatching films that I knew already, but also watching new films. And actually Shirley Clark, it was probably the name and surname that sort of ring the bell a little bit. I mean, I may have heard about her in the context of New York's art scene, etc., but I never saw any of her films. And Portrait of Jason was like a gate opener, and I believe that like when the festival is going to be over, I'm going to go through her filmography and watch more, because this was like a small jewel that I found, and I'm really happy that we were able to share it with Vilnius Film Festival audience. So yeah, I don't know, like, what about you guys?
Hi everyone. First of all, it's like really, really, really nice. I feel like almost like in our meetings because we always meet like this virtually. So it's like, yeah, it's nice to see you. But maybe Maria, we haven't seen you for so long. Share your thoughts. How are you? And your thoughts about Jason. I remember our conversations, but anyway, maybe after some time you had some more revelations.
So hi to everyone as well. It has been indeed a long time since I've seen her like this. It's really a pleasure. It's just strange to think that now this is being aired live. No, but when it comes to the film, as I was saying beforehand, I really hope that the people won't miss this opportunity to see this film, because I think it's a mind-blowing film. It's just for myself, it is really an incredible piece of art. I actually started. I wanted to rewatch the whole film, but I didn't manage to. But I started to watch it again. I watched like half the film today, and I just was again astonished by the way that the intimacy can be created in cinema, and how it just so happened that we truly get to know this person, the main character, and how it just so happened to be that he's so also naturally such a gifted storyteller, because every story that he tells is truly like I could imagine everything that he says. And it's therefore, for me, this film is somehow, it's about that person, but for me, it's like many different stories about many different people, and about in particular at that time in US, and the situation, both politically speaking or in any other way. So yeah, it's just it's always it's when the film is as wonderful and as beautiful, I always find it hard to talk about it, because I always feel like there's not much to say. It's wonderful. So
I mean, in a way, one would even expect Jason Holiday to kind of be part of this, kind of chat that we have right now, because he would just be totally charismatic and just take it away. I would say, I think, when Mantė, when you proposed the theme and we kind of all started digging around and coming up with ideas, and I would have to also underscore Aistė's comment that it was a really, really amazing experience to kind of revisit some films and rethink others. And for me, again, for me, Portrait of Jason was a huge discovery. Again, I had heard of the film. I had heard, of course, of Shirley Clarke, but I hadn't seen her fiction films. But that being said, Portrait of Jason, almost like for me, and I don't know for you as well, but it became almost like the film to represent the theme. I mean, here we have somebody who is, who embodies acting or being, and kind of crosses, I mean, the boundary between performance and between being true to oneself is totally erased in who Jason Holiday is. And the way that Shirley Clarke kind of constructs this portrait of him, also, met in a very meta level, also addresses, the idea of performance for the screen, performance of the filmmaker towards the viewer, as in like, what will I construct, what will I render fictional or true. Because as much as the film is about Jason Holiday, once you kind of start digging into the film, and particularly into the film's background, almost, like a whole world opens up of little tidbits that really kind of complicate the film and complicate, at least my, kind of my reading of the movie. And at the same time, it's such a simple piece of cinema, shot in '67. Cinema at the kind of like at the early height of cinema vérité. 12 hours interview, like 4 or 5 people watching one person, get slowly inebriated and just kind of, tell stories, fictional or otherwise. But there's just like a force of cinema in this movie, and apropos of that intimacy, Maria, like it's great how unfortunately, like we're all together digitally, like, virtually, we're all kind of, experiencing, unfortunately, cinema on our home screens. But Jason, I think, still comes across, that level of intimacy really kind of lends itself, unfortunately, I would say, to like a domestic home screen, like a TV screen. That being said, I can't even imagine the impact of seeing this movie for the first time in a cinema.
Yeah, it's a pity it's a pity we couldn't watch it like that and show it like that. But maybe I just wanted to add up to what you, Andrei, said about this erasing this border between acting and being, because for me, I think as well, from the online selection of what we have for the theme, this is like really the key film for the theme, because of this reason you have mentioned. Because I don't know, I was thinking about the theme, it's so many layers you can go into, but one of the most important, maybe, I don't know, I will share it, for me personally, was this kind of acting or performing, not in a way that pretending, but it is quite natural that we as human beings, we are kind of similar. We have some kind of masks, or we have some kind of attitudes or ways of behaving with one people, with another, in one, in professional setup, in the home setup, and it's all changing, and it's still part of who you are. And this line between, who you really truly are and all this kind of performative acts, it's, I think, sometimes not necessarily needs to be so separated, and one called the true self and the other one is some kind of, pretending. It's all kind of intertwined, I feel, at times, but at times, it's maybe too much of this masks. But in this particular case, what happens in the end was really, for me, raised so many questions, so many emotions. I felt so disturbed in a way how they tried to pull out this, safe way of him being through acting. I don't know, for me it was really kind of painful, even though I kind of respect, or maybe not respect, I understand the goals behind the filmmaker. But on the other hand, I think Jason developed this to protect himself, and not only protect, but that's the way he is. This is his way of being through acting. So I really enjoyed all the film by being so close to him. And in the end, I felt like really, really disturbed that someone wanted, to bring me even closer, but it was not necessarily. I already was with this person, truly, kind of in the true, I don't know, connection. So I don't know, that was my kind of thoughts and reading of Jason. And yeah, it was a really big discovery.
Yeah, but this performance, I think, like you really said it to the point that that this is like in a way his only way of actually surviving the period of this particular historical time, when it was incredibly complicated to be like this sexual minority, to be also racial minority, to be like all the time oppressed, and so on and so on. And you sort of like need to develop some kind of I don't know, like social roles, and in sort of like just to be is not enough. You have to act, and this is I think I already said in some conversation, but like what is nice about the name of the team is that the act is actually, like, when you look at the word semantically, it's also to perform, like we can also speak about performing as a way of of resistance. But actually, like what I wanted to say is that I read something like very interesting in the interview with Shirley Clark when she said that like being a women filmmaker for her always felt like this is not enough. And like for that reason, like in order to express her like I don't know, some sort of like being not enough, like this sort of feeling, she turned her camera into, she's made some films about the addicted drug addict jazz musicians, and she made a lot of films about the black life, but the blacks in America. And I think this is a very interesting point when you think about, I mean, that was also some sort of I don't know, like way of surviving the, like a little bit suppressing surroundings, the art surroundings in the 60s in New York. I mean, the woman, she felt like she needs to turn her camera into something a little bit more fragile in order to express her like own experiences as a young artist. So that was something like it actually it's like in a way it explained maybe the form that she chose for Portrait of Jason in a way, because this is a little bit aggressive filmmaking. This is something that is like going to like almost the limit how much far you can go and exploit the subject in front of your camera. And but then like when I read that interview, it sort of like all like came together, and then it all started to make much more sense.
It's so like a lot of the back. So I mean, apparently Shirley Clark really at the point when she was making the when she decided to make the film, she really wanted to corner Jason. Something had happened, and from what I've read, I mean, she publicly stated that like Jason owed her money, and Jason kind of screwed a lot of people over that she knew. There was a team of like I think 4 or 5 people in the room, and she very, I mean, she her directorial control went way deep. It wasn't that. So on one hand, she chose the people who were going to be in the room. She chose them particularly for their kind of sexual appeal. So she made sure that there was this very handsome man who I think was the sound recordist. She decided the same for the cameraman. Carl Lee, who was her partner at the time, who was an African American actor, he was actually the link, the oldest link to Jason. So apparently, Carl had known Jason for almost like 15, 20 years. Shirley Clark herself only knew Jason a little bit, but just enough to kind of get to know his persona. And she's never publicly stated exactly what she had against Jason. Apparently, clearly, what you get from the film is that there's a lot of kind of bad history between him and Carl in particular. Shirley said on record that Jason owed her money because she actually contributed to the trying to get Jason to actually do his stage act over a while, and he never paid her back. He asked her again for money, but there was more to that story. So there was more to the relationship between her and the subject. And she did, as far as I remember, she did publicly state that when she wanted to make the film, she did want to kind of corner Jason. Granted, 12 hours is a quite long period of time from when you start off with one goal, and then as the night progresses. And she does say that as the night progressed, she kind of gave up on that kind of violent, kind of confrontation with Jason. So this is where it gets really interesting, also because we're seeing kind of like the organism of filmmaking happen on screen live. So besides kind of handpicking every team, every person that was in the room, I understand that she the fades that we see in the back during the film. You know, I mean, the film is comprised of 12 hours crunched down, but the camera at one point kind of goes out of focus, and then it cuts. But then the audio kind of runs through over black screen. She was controlling all this. She kind of knew, and you know, and she had like a code with the camera person that when she felt the time came during one of Jason's kind of the stories, that he should kind of like fade the or rather pull the focus. And then of course the black screen moments are when they had to change the reels of the film, but you know, she wanted to kind of keep the recording going. And sorry, these are just kind of like anecdotes that really kind of, I think, add to what we're seeing on screen, because you know, as much as Shirley Clarke was really experimenting with cinematic form, there is also the question of of a different sort of intention, which comes from a particular point of privilege also. And Shirley Clarke was a quite affluent person. I mean, you know, she came from money, I would say, but not, and I don't mean that in a negative way, but there's also a certain power balance that happens when Jason Holiday says at one point that, you know, after he left home as a kid, he never really had a home. You know, he kind of became this kind of transient nomad that kind of lived his life as this series of experiences. So Jason also comes from a different kind of social class. I was going to say you're going into black just as Jason.
I realized that's why. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, but anyway, I will stop my kind of rant. But there's just so much to unpack with this movie, and I would really urge everybody to, you know, if you've seen the film, watch it again. Perhaps on the basis of what we said, but just, you know, do like Google a bit of background on this film, and the information that you will kind of read will really kind of enrich the movie for you. And then I would kind of urge you once again to watch it. You know, just have one more day tomorrow.
Yeah, who saw the film, it was really amazing feedback. I remember our coordinator of translations. She was so impressed. She was just texting me, thank you, and all the screenshots, and she was really, really touched. And I think it's not so many people have watched the film, but the ones who did, it was a big, big revelation. So yeah, maybe someone gonna still catch it. But maybe you have some more thoughts just about the festival, the virtual experience. Maria, you are so far as well, and Andrea, you are so far as well, and we were like constantly speaking with Aistė that it would be so much nicer if you would be here, but that's the reality. But anyway, how was the experience for you? Did you had an experience of the festival?
But just before we move on to that, I just wanted to add something to portrait of Jason. Is that I think one of you has mentioned this kind of, that I think it's just very interesting how the film is so rich that it resonates in ways that I could have never imagined. Like, for example, the fact that we're watching it now on the computer screen during the pandemic, somehow it made me feel, I think, very different about the film that I would have felt if there was no pandemic. It's just something, because we're all now forced to sit in front of the screen all the time, work virtually, meet virtually, do everything virtually. And somehow, I don't know, it's I think it's Andrei who mentioned as well, this whole doing everything online, that it's somehow it really made me feel like it resonated with me to the extent where all the intimacy that we get outside of our own bubble is kind of online. And therefore it somehow worked this film for me on a whole other level, I guess, because we were watching it, you know, at this time. That's all that I wanted to say. which I think they probably didn't expect, because the film is done more for cinemas, and it's something that I think it just happened. So
I mean, what you're saying also connects to what, to like our experience of the festival in general. I mean, I'll speak for myself. It's, I really wish that I could be there. Like and not just for me to be there, but I wish that, because the one thing that you miss, and something that we're trying to kind of recreate here is, is this kind of communal experience that is shared, by people watching the same film. Of course, people have seen our films, or our films, the films that we showed, but you're missing that kind of that interaction. I mean, we had it ourselves. Every week we would meet and we would discuss the films, which is great. I do miss that. I mean, actually, I missed that during the festival because we didn't get to have that. But it's so important. Like, cinema is more than just a film. Cinema is kind of, giving yourself up and kind of, or rather giving yourself to an experience over a certain period of time in a particular space. It is like a singular experience because it is entirely yours, but it's really not the same as one where you feel like you're sharing that experience with others around you. And beyond the kind of philosophical way to kind of discuss it, going out of the movie theater and talking to your friends, asking them what their how they saw the film. And I think for us as programmers, it's also it's really needed to kind of see the reaction of our audience to these films. See how they resonated, see what they hated, see understand why they these films did something to them, because it's also like a learning experience for us as programmers, and I would say very selfishly, it makes me feel good when I see that a film that was so close to our hearts kind of has that effect on people as well. Yeah, I just hope that very soon cinemas will open and people will be able to kind of have this experience.
But I think also for ourselves, for me, it's something that I was thinking about this 2 days ago, that after all, even though I'm that type of a person that I really want to go to cinema, I like to go on my own. And I always thought, the less the people, the better. And then you're just sitting there in front of the screen. It's such a great experience. But after all, it is a collective experience, and it's something that is being taken away from us. And it's hard because, at least for myself, when I really find out a lot about each film that I watch through a conversation, when you can actually, you leave the cinema room and then you have someone to exchange the opinions or point of view, and then you realize that you have found way more in that film that you actually initially thought, and it's something. I think it's it's hard looking from that perspective.
It brings me back to the first episode of these late night talks next to the cinema hall. And I like what you're saying, guys. It's I mean, I could not agree more with everything that you're saying, but it's just like it feels like that, like we are like hopefully at the end of the whole hellish year that we had, that the cinema all around the world had. And I think that we're talking a lot about what we lost, but then we're not talking about the fact that that cinema, like differently than, I don't know, many other parts of culture. Okay, but I mean, you can still speak about the theater that sort of like went, online, and then we see theater plays being filmed and then broadcasted online, etc. But then I think that it, like in a way, like for like the fact that like festivals continued all across the world, like even though they had to go online, like we should not forget that it's actually like meaningful. It's meaningful for the filmmakers that made their film, and actually they were able to present those films. Of course, I mean, it's a pity. It's for everyone a great pity. But then, but I think it's important to move on. And as I said, like when you compare it to the theater, I mean, theater has it. I think it's much harder to transfer theater, which is basically, you know, 3-dimensional. You know, like space, acts, and then like being filmed, it sort of destroys. Like I mean, it does not destroy, but it narrows down the experience, like even more than like what you know what happens with the cinema when we put it digitally. So I don't know. Maybe it's because for me it's the second year when when it's online. Like I had this like really stupid thought that I'm a little bit ashamed that sort of like you know should broadcast it in this late night talk. So when I said that maybe for a while we should just stop comparing because it's uncomparable, you know, like what we have now, and maybe we can just I don't know, like rejoice. And actually, like for me, like one of the most precious things were when the people that I know, they were sending personal messages and you know, like saying something about one or the other film, and then eventually people, you know, are happy that the new content is coming, you know, to their screens, that it's available, that the fact that they can, you know, follow the, you know, what's been sort of, you know, hot in the film world, you know, I don't know, Radu Žudė. Like, I mean, it's, you know, in Lithuania, of course, in online festival, but then it's still here, and I think it's really exciting. So, yeah, just a little more positive note.
I have one more positive note, which I think it's the first time ever I have enjoyed so much the conversations with the filmmakers. And I think mostly because, you know, in previous years, last year we didn't have that many, and in previous years we were talking with Aistė one day that it was always like this running from one screening room to another, and sometimes you have 3 in a row and you're just changing the rooms and it's all very fast. But of course it was quite different because you're just opening the floor for the audience, and it's amazing to see audience reactions and all those questions and you know, just to participate in all this meeting. But this year it's like so amazing that we can reach people who are so far, who we couldn't, you know, invite. Like, I'm not sure we could have invited Fradik from Luanda or Denikote from Canada. Yeah, and it was like so pleasant to talk. And I think for me this year it was like something that I was hanging on really throughout the festival, all those conversations, even though I'm always like very, you know, nervous and I have this like, oh, I hope it's gonna get well, everything. But on the other hand, I felt so inspired in all the conversations. It was such a blissful moments. I don't know, like all of the conversations, I felt that, you know, I learned something new, or I could just speak with people with whom I'm on the same ground and have some similar, some maybe different thoughts, but we speak about the things we truly care. They made the film. I appreciated the film. We can communicate about those topics that, you know, are so precious and important for me, and I think for a lot of people. So yeah, those conversations were just like a gift for this year when we can't go into the screening room. So we had those this studio, which at first it felt quite weird, these first conversations, because you sit in this kind of studio, you almost feel like a TV presenter, which is really like weird kind of role. You know, you don't know that role. But then somehow, yeah, I got relaxed, and it was really like very interesting exchanges of thoughts. So that's to add up to Aistė.
Yeah, and it was nice because we were like in a way, because I remember day before yesterday I did a Q&A with GRİŽTA, the director of Apple, it's our closing film, and it was such a precious moment when his dog came to the screen and sort of jumped on the lap, and then it was like it was all fluffy around and so on and so on. So I just thought that, like, when the filmmakers come to Vilnius Film Festival, their presence, of course, it's incomparable. But then again, like maybe to meet them in their original surroundings, this is like also something incredibly unique and something that we would otherwise never experience. Like to see like the director when like throughout the conversation in this time, the sun sets somewhere in the world, and then the face becomes darker and darker. And then, there were just like a lot of precious moments, to see what is hanging on the wall of I don't know, of Matthew Rankin. It's interesting.
That was going to be my kind of positive add-on to this. It's because these Q&As kind of stripped away the formalities of like of a proper festival Q&A, so they become very intimate. And at the beginning they're a bit kind of stiff because you haven't really gotten to know the director. You're acting or performing, that kind of thing. Like, are you kind of just going through kind of rote questions? But it's great when the kind of Q&As have like a very natural flow, and the fact that we're in, like in this case, in each other's homes, and we're kind of just casually doing this, and kind of that relaxed intimacy gives way to some, to some really interesting revelations from the filmmaker. And that's what you really kind of want is a filmmaker to really be comfortable and be at ease, and to really offer you some perspectives or some very personal opinions, anecdotes, of a film that that you yourself have shared with those around you and really like. So yeah.
Good. We are kind of having a good note. Okay, guys. So it was really nice to see you, and I hope we can call each other not on broadcasting or live stream after the awards ceremony to discuss, which is gonna be on Monday evening. So it's gonna be nice to chat with you after the awards to discuss that. And it's really nice to see you always. So probably have a good evening.
There's one more day. I was going to ask, what film would you recommend to be seen tomorrow besides Portrait of Jason?
Monopoly of Violence, because later on you're gonna have a Q&A with him, with David Fresnay, yeah?
Yes.
So I will recommend everyone to watch this film, and later on to watch the talk with the director.
I'm going to watch shorts that Maria and Mantė together with Aušra selected, which like I'm so sorry, but throughout this like 2.5 weeks of the festival, I still did not manage to see. So this is something that I'm doing on the Easter weekend.
I will just say I will be doing that as well, because by the way, congratulations on programming the shorts. Like, too little is actually being discussed about shorts in general, but bless you for actually putting a lot of effort in and making a great selection. I haven't seen it. I will watch it, but I'm sure that it's really strong. But yes, I thought that's a really good point. I'm going to follow that.
Where Mantė, we're sending virtual high five to Ushra.
Yes.
No, I'm actually absolutely with you on this. I really am also very, very happy with the program of shorts this year. I think that there are so many interesting shorts. It was actually funny because I was trying to recommend, like some people asked me to recommend a few, like what I think are the best ones, and I ended up writing out just as good as the whole list. Just it's really possible. I really think that the program of the shorts is also very, very rich. There are some of the shorts that I've been waiting for a year. So for me, this is a really like a big celebration. So I think both suggestions are great there for both the Monopoly of Violence, which is an amazing film, although a bit loaded for the ending of the festival, but I think it's a must-see film. And I would also recommend to explore the shorts as well. It's a beautiful program.
Great, guys.
And for those who may have already watched the Portrait of Jason, I would recommend not to miss the other film from the Act or To Be and To Be section, which is called Streetwise by Martin Bell, which was like also I think that was a little bit overlooked by wide audiences, but this is a true jewel, a true masterpiece, which is like really, really important, I think, not to miss it.
Good.
So
Happy.
Yeah, so I'm like happy to see you, and I don't know, waiting for the real chin chin, you know.
Let's do it after the award ceremony. We'll gather up for private Skype.
Let's do
We'll
that.
do so. Okay.
Ciao.
Ciao.
Ciao.